Welcome back, men of God. Thank you again for joining us this week. We will be looking at Numbers 11. Before we dive in, though, give you a little bit of history of what's going on. This incident that we're going to be reading about takes place about a year or two after the Israelites have been released out of bondage, out of Egypt, and they've run out of food, and they begin to complain to God. And when they do that, God begins to rain manna from heaven, and so they've been eating this for a good while now. And so now that brings us to this incident that we read about in Numbers 11. Numbers 11, 4 through 6 reads, "Now the rabble that was among them had a strong craving, and the people of Israel also wept again and said, 'Oh, that we had meat to eat! We remember the fish we ate in Egypt that cost nothing, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. But now our strength is dried up, and there is nothing at all but this manna to look at.'" So there are four things about this verse that I find interesting. First one right out of the gate is that these people started with a strong craving for things that were in their past. They also forgot where they had come from, the fact that they were in bondage. They also didn't appreciate what God was providing for them. He was providing them food. And they also forgot who was providing for them while they were in the desert. Now, I know that it's easy to look down on these Israelites and say, I would never do that. But really, we as men have strong cravings. Whether it's food or sex or TV or sports, we in our flesh have strong cravings. But if we don't run to the Holy Spirit and ask Him for strength when those strong cravings come, the temptation to sin is surely there behind it. And guys, within that, when that strong craving comes and we are kind of bent to go the route of complaining or the route of if only, we also begin to forget where we came from that bondage of sin. Yeah, that time back when may seem like fun, but we forget the bondage that we were in at that time. We tend to gloss over the bad things and look at only the good things, not realizing the chains that we were in. When we begin to look that way and we get to look back, we begin to not appreciate the things that God has provided for us. Our homes, our families, our friends, our jobs. When we begin to not appreciate those things that God has provided for us, we begin to forget that God is even providing those things for us. And we begin to look inside and we begin to complain. So guys, I want you to take a hard look at these four things and realize that when those strong cravings come in, that you begin to run to the one that can provide the strength for us, Jesus Christ. And through the Holy Spirit, we may ward off those strong cravings so that we don't forget the bondage that we had been in. Some of you guys are in a tough season of life, and you look around you and you think that there aren't things to be thankful for. But if you sit down and you think about these things, you begin to process these things and see that God has provided for you, and you can give thanks to Him. So guys, as you get together in groups this week, discuss these four things. And as always, suit up and get ready for battle.